This is version 3 of the CF timesheet that works in Excel. It uses VBA macros so that it has an input form and it has the summary table at the top. It gives you two different options. One is if your CF employer grants you indirect hours, or if you need to specifically record those indirect hours, you would use table 2. You may need to figure out the scale in which they grant your hours. As an example, my CF employer told me that of the 1,260, I need to actually submit 840 hours in direct billable time. So based on 840 being the minimum number of hours that I need to complete, that plus 420 is the 1,260 total. Okay, so I copied and pasted all of my CF information in here, and my CF employer grants me a number of indirect hours for every direct hour that I work. I'm going to use this table. I had a weird situation in my CF where I was fully aware of it, but I went over my hours. So these numbers make sense to me. Anyway, now if I look at the other table, table 2 is showing my hours based on the fact that I need to record indirect hours. And except for this one entry, there are no indirect hours on this table because I didn't need to record them. But in looking at that table anyway, we see my direct hours listed here, and it's saying that I basically have 0 indirect time. It doesn't matter because I know what I need to submit. It's just that this table is not going to say that the segment is complete. Meanwhile, it is here. And then the segment hours are completed based on the direct. So because my CF employer grants me hours, I'm going to highlight these rows and then delete them. I don't need them. And I can now either ungroup this or group it and just continue to add my entries this way. Because it's a table, Excel will automatically put the header rows at the top as you scroll. So you don't have to freeze the rows at the top to make sure that the header row is always showing. But if you wanted to, you could do that and freeze that row up at the top. And I just wanted to show this feature. I'm not sure that I did, but if you make a selection, let's say you're looking at segment 2 and you want to see all of your supervision and you select that here, it's going to highlight the matching information. Here is the supervision 2 for this session, and here is supervision 2, segment 2 that is, for this session here. It's just a different way of looking at the table. You can always filter based on that. Or here, if you're looking for something specific, let's say you're looking for push-in services, and the table will filter based on whether or not this information is contained within any of the cells that are in this column. And you see here the provider made multiple attempts to push in, and that keyword is here. So I would take this out.
Whoops.
Select all. Make sure that your filter is cleared. I left the slicer on the table, which works just like any of these drop-down filters. So let's say I wanted to, again, see supervision 2. It's the same thing as filtering here. It's just much easier to navigate, and then you would clear your filter, and then that would go away there, letting you know that the table has no filters on it. This is grayed out. You can click and highlight this and just delete it off the table if you don't need to use that, and then just use these as you go. Some of the tables that were in here have been consolidated into this one sheet. You can still change this as you need to. These are fixed. This is an added in text box that you can use to input any kind of information that's relevant for your CF. I found it useful to record in how I calculated this 0.5, and I put that information in my copy. And here, of course, if you want to figure out the decimal hour for any reason, or the duration of a session, for example, you can use these tables here. If you need to calculate a date of birth, enter the date of birth here, and it will calculate the age. If you're not using any of these sheets, so let's say you don't really need this information, let's hide it. And now that CF is going to refresh and be off of this table of contents. If you were to unhide it, it goes back on automatically. So don't worry about hiding anything. You can hide all these if you want. You can even hide this table of contents page. It's completely up to the user preference. So let's unhide all those sheets, reset it. And there you go. That's the latest version of the CF timesheet that uses the VBA input form. If there's any questions, you can always email me or leave a comment on TPT. Thank you so much for watching.